Our presentation today is titled The Mutuality of Heritage Site in Informal Settlements, a case study of Lahore. The slide presents a broad outline of the presentation, starting from the background of Lahore, the objective of the study, a brief introduction of the terms urban heritage and informal settlements. The study primarily introduces three typologies of mutuality identified through the case studies in Lahore city, leading to the final conclusion. Lahore is one of the oldest cities in the subcontinent. The strategic geographical location of Lahore may also be another reason for its origin, survival, and prosperity. It was positioned on the cross section of the trade route from east to west, as can be shown in the illustration between Delhi to Kandahar, further connecting Aleppo. It linked Multan to Kashmir. The link is noteworthy as trade is integral to the development of markets. The city evolution is marked by the layer of history defined through its built heritage and culture development. The slide broadly outlines the significant period of development or change in the city. It should be noted that the early Lahore or the early history of Lahore is mostly conjecture as there was no trend of written recording history. The following are the four main objectives of the study, which is to examine and map the informal settlements, to identify and analyze the possible extent of the impact of informal settlements on the heritage site, and to study and highlight the correlation and possible factors which have facilitated the growth of such informal settlements around the heritage sites in Lahore, and to develop an understanding and link between the urban heritage and informal settlements of Lahore city. This slide represents the theoretical framework essential in understanding the perspective of the study. The diagram signifies a loop where the built heritage is infiltrated by the informal settlement on a need base. However, the built also impacts the settlement in terms of material and envelope or through its cultural diversity and historic values. The process, as coined in the economy, is coined as creative destruction, where destruction of the built heritage may be part of urban renewal or development. It also entails social and political dimension. The idea of urban heritage is well established. Here, two specific meanings are identified. This is important as Lahore is a special city, not only in terms of history, but also because the city holds a significant heritage sites as well as Wall City as a prime example of breathing and living heritage city. According to Awan, approximately 283 historic buildings of importance are located in Lahore city, out of which 56 are listed and the remaining are non-listed historical buildings. The sheer number of these buildings signifies the cultural value of the city's fabric and the intricacies woven through its build. Time has been a cruel friend to the city of Lahore. It has shown its destruction in the form of repeated war, partition loss, and recently overpopulation, neglect, and poverty. The slide briefly highlights the destruction of the heritage in the city due to three major reasons, which are Lahore post partition, immediate housing to the solution, and the possible reason for the heritage size deterioration. Informal settlements can be specifically defined through their construction type, legal claim, mode of occupancy, regulation and bylaws, implementation, and unauthorized housing. The definition is broad in terms of a diverse city like Lahore. The factors leading to the emergence of the informal settlement could be enormous, like rural to urban migration, population increase, and housing requirement. The uniqueness of the Lahore emerges with its ability to accommodate and facilitate various types of categories or informal settlements into its fabric. As discussed earlier, Lahore is unique as it embeds within it various types of Kachi Abadis. Broadly, the hierarchy of the types of these settlements can be stated as such. The one which is perpetual informal settlements, transitional informal settlements, irregular informal settlements, and nomadic informal settlements. The study also broadly relies on empirical methods, where it was initiated through documentation and observation of various sites. Upon selection, a detailed mapping and diagramming method was used for analysis and conclusion, and the site selection criteria were similar, where a large pool of heritage sites were identified, and then through a deductive method, categories were identified, leading to typologies as conclusion. Three main typologies are identified and discussed in detail, which are H2H, extended infiltration, and pervasive infiltration. Each typology has two examples identifying or defining the typology and its characteristics. The typology one is edge-to-edge infiltration. This slide marks the location of the site, which is towards the north of the city, located in the proximity of the walled city on the Grand Trunk Road, one of the oldest roads connecting Delhi to Kashmir. Shalimar Garden, which were completed in 1962, are commissioned by the Shah Jahan and they were built on site away from the walled city. Typical features associated with Mughal architecture and landscapes were introduced in the garden, which occupies 16 hectares of land. The following map shows the slow urbanization of the area around the garden from a richly green space to slow development of formal and informal settlements which engulf it. One of the major reasons of these development was the presence of the GT road, that is still a major network and which connects the city. The map is the latest land use of the area where it can be clearly seen how the garden has been surrounded by built settlement and a busy road with a heavy intra and intercity transportation. The second example of the edge-to-edge infiltration is the tomb of Jahangir, which is located at the north side of the city across the river Ravi and is now in the territory of Shadra town. Jahangir tomb is a 7th century mausoleum, a UNESCO heritage site, and one of the main reasons that the river Ravi bank was constructed by the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb to change the course of the river as constant flooding caused significant damage to the site. The map depicts the old course of River Ravi in proximity to the tomb and the railway line constructed during the British time. This map highlights the tomb, which is damaged from one corner due to the flooding, the green beds around the river, and the few settlements which slowly start spreading in the later time. The slide depicts the existing condition of the site with the proximity of the river and the spread of settlements around its periphery. So the diagram on the left depicts the infiltration takes place, which is on the periphery of the historic site. It tends to lean on the boundary of the site yet never penetrates it. The definition of the topology thus can be stated as infiltration restricted to the periphery and depicts the correlation of heritage and informal settlements through infiltration that tends to lean on the edge without penetration. The characteristics of the topology thus can be identified as the one that surrounds the site completely, tends to lean on the boundary but never cross the threshold, and the heritage site act as a magnet, providing opportunities and build qualities for growth of the informal settlement. The typology two is the extended infiltration. The first case study of this typology is Gulabi Bagh, which is located at the north side of the Lahore city. The site currently faces GT Road, followed by Mughalpura to its south, Shrine of Khwaja Mahmud to its east, Singhpura to its north, and Begumpura, followed by the University of Engineering and Technology to its east. Gulabi Bagh comprises of 250 Mughal ghazals each side and is built by Mirza Sultan Beg in 1655 as a pleasure garden. The plan of the garden is square in shape. In 1961, the garden is repurposed to be used as the tomb of Dayanga, a wet nurse of Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. The Dayanga tomb is built at the center of the Gulabi Bagh. Another tomb is later built in the north of the Bagh and it is known as the Cypress tomb and is a early 18th century tomb. The tomb of the Dayanga is a rectangular in shape with interior adorned with fresco and exterior in Kashikari. Rather than the chamber, the Dayanga is buried with her daughter Sultana Begum in the underground crypt, which is no longer accessible. Cypress tomb, on the other hand, is this tomb which is located in the north of Dayanga tomb and was surrounded by the garden connecting the two tombs. It is a unique tomb since the structure of this tomb is a tapering tower with a pyramidal wall. During Sikh rule in the 18th century, it was believed that the tomb contained treasure and thus the tomb was plundered and damaged. Demonstrating the typical behavior of the extended infiltration, the diagram depicts the infiltration starting from the outside towards the inside, resulting in the drastic reduction of the original scale of the site. The second case study of the site is Chuburji, which is located, typology is Chuburji, which is located in the northwest of the Lahore city. It faces Miani Sahab to its east, Ponch House to its south, Mayo College to its north, and residential area of Shamnagar to its east. Recently, a metro line running north to south is dangerously passing the site in the close proximity. The site is built in 16th century by Aurangzeb for her daughter Zebun Nisa. The monument originally was gateway to the extensively lavish and large garden known as Zebun-Nisa Bagh. Damaged by the flood in Aurangzeb in Sikh era, the site was further damaged in the earthquake of 1843, and recently Lahore Metro project posed a great risk to the remnant heritage of the park, which is Chuburji. It is recorded that the boundary of the Zebur Nisa garden, whose remnant is now found in the shape of Chuburji, extend far towards west at the banks of the river Ravi, towards Miani Sahab at east, the shrine of the Data Ganj Baksh at north, and Nawakot at south. The slide demonstrates the vast scale of the garden, now reduced to mere 0.1 square kilometer of the area. And this diagram depicts the dramatic behavior of extended infiltration, where the scale of the heritage site is reduced to more than 99%. The diagram on the left depicts how the infiltration takes place, that is slowly from the outside, but it starts penetrating the boundary to an extent that sometimes the whole site is taken over with some remains in the form of a gate or a central building. The characteristic of the typology thus can be identified as the one that takes over the heritage site from outside towards inside, drastically reducing the original scale. The site taken over is destroyed and the new development is woven with reassigned function into the new fabric, and the remaining built monument retain its use and the function. The third type of typology is the pervasive infiltration. The first case study of this typology is identified at Mariam Zamani Mosque, which is located in the walled city of Lahore. The site neighbors significant heritage site, but predominantly surrounded by encroachment. Mariam Zamani Mosque, famous for its fresco work, is one of the earliest mosques built in the region. The mosque is also known as Begum Shahi Mosque and was built by Mughal Emperor Jahangir for his mother in 1634. Built and used as a mosque for years, the mosque was converted into a gunpowder factory during the Sikh rule and was identified as Barut Khanawali Masjid. It was later restored to its original use in colonial era and was later declared a protected monument by the government of Pakistan. The mosque, famous for its fresco and double dome practice, has original footprint of 18,495 square foot. The plan of the mosque is roughly rectangular in shape and divided into two main spaces, that is covered prayer hall at the west and the open courtyard. Originally, the mosque can be accessed from three sides, that is north, south and east, and the courtyard serves as a threshold between the prayer hall and the three access points of the mosque. An ablution area in the shape of a traditional Mughal water is in the center of the courtyard. Originally, the percentage of the cover area in shape of prayer hall and open space in shape of courtyard is 30% and 70% respectively. However, while the extended boundary of the mosque is retained in its original shape and scale, a new structure and functional reassignment have been introduced in the interior of the mosque. A covered area entailing residence of the local cleric and a covered graveyard has been constructed in the east of the courtyard. The water body is also semi-covered, and two fiberglass canopies were also added to the north and south side of the water body in 2016. The pervasive infiltration in this heritage site is so extreme that it has reversed the original open and covered ratio of the site, and in the current scenario, only 30% of the area of the mosque is open, whereas 70% of the mosque has been covered. Another example of pervasive infiltration is DAV Hostel, also known as Hindu Camp. The DAV Hostel is a pre-partition building which is located at the administrative hub of the Lahore city on the Court Road. The camp is surrounded by important administrative and educational buildings. The inscription fixed on the exterior and interior wall of the building read Devya Anand Anglo-Vedic Boarding School House and provides us a hint regarding the pre-partition function of the building. This building was established in 1886 by DAV College Trust and Management Society in Lahore, but later in 1947 during partition, the DAV hostel building is used to provide shelter to the refugees coming from India. The Hingu camp currently consists of two hostels, namely DAV-1 and DAV-2. A total of 498 families were residing in Hindu camp as per the survey of 1992, and the amount of residents occupying the hostel are now expected to be double by now. In order to cater to the growing number of occupants, the infiltration in the interior space of the Hindu camp is exercised either by amendments carried out within the existing infrastructure involving damaging or destroying the parts of the original structure, or introduction of totally new structure inside the parameter of DAV hostel on vacant land or land cleared after demolition or original structure. The typical layout of the hostel is based on a regional planning conscious of regional climate, in which the verandas are aligned with the classroom to provide shade and to also function as a circulation space. In order to cater to the heat using stack effect, ventilators are provided in the walls close to the ceiling height, and the height of the room is generally kept not less than 14 feet. In this first type of encroachment, the residents have divided a single room into two separate family units to facilitate their need. Since the height of the ceiling is so high, so in order to cater the cost, a wall no less than 8 to 10 feet is built to segregate the space. Those with privileges often add false roof to secure more privacy. This type of encroachment, however, is limited to the rooms of DAV hostel. The type 2 encroachment started from the division of the room spills into the veranda space and occupies half or more than half of the veranda space, leaving a very less navigating corridor space. The walls built in the veranda to mark the territory are very low height, that is 5 to 6 feet, and usually serve as the kitchen of the family unit. The encroachment type 3 is exists due to the lack of the available space horizontally. So, due to the lack of available space horizontally, many residents are forced to expand vertically and construct structures of poor quality by dividing the room and, in some cases, verandas vertically. Additional and temporary staircases installed in the verandas are used as a means of navigation and access to the additional stories. In pervasive infiltration, DAV hostel represent another extreme in which infiltration is unfolding itself inside the boundary of the heritage in shape of three forms targeting room, verandas, as well as additional story. It should be noted that these types of encroachment are produced as a result of amendments which is carried out in the original structure of the DAV hostels by partially or fully damaging the building. The diagram on the left depicts how the infiltration takes place in which the periphery of the heritage site is retained. However, the interior is taken over and transformed. Thus, as the terms imply, the pervasive infiltration represents the most extreme form of intrusion into the heritage sites. And its characteristics can be defined as the one in which the interior is infiltrated and transformed. The infiltration operates parasitically. It alters the physical form of the site, and the new function and activities are introduced. In conclusion, the three typologies were read, understood, and compared through 8 significant parameters referenced from other texts. They are physical and structural decay or transformation, spatial and urban context, socio-spatial vulnerability, anthropogenic hazards, cultural and intangible factors, environmental and disaster-related indicators, change in the use and function, and the legal and planning issues. The typologies were marked in level from L1 to L5, where L1 referred to the least change in the heritage site due to the informal settlements and infiltration, and L5 as a site with major changes or destruction. The study is integral. In the end, I would like to say that the study is integral to understanding the complex role of heritage site, especially in the case of the Global South, where the historic buildings are understood and sometimes misused in the larger urban context. Lahore is a unique case study as it enriched with layers of historic building across its fabric. The typologies concluded as a result of the study is a first attempt in highlighting the role of informal settlements with heritage. It clearly signifies a need for further research in the area, which could facilitate the development of better policies and plans for the preservation and conservation of these historic sites and a future plan for housing. Thank you.